In this segment, we discuss the appropriate benchmark to be used in calculating the amount of a subsidy when the financial contribution is a provision of goods or services or a purchase of goods. To begin with, recall that under Article 1.1b of the SCM agreement, the existence of a benefit arising out of a financial contribution is determined by reference to the terms on which the recipient could have obtained that financial contribution in the market. This use of a market benchmark in ascertaining whether a financial contribution has conferred a benefit is reflected in Article 14 of the SCM agreement. Article 14 provides guidance as to how the amount of the benefit should be calculated for various different forms of financial contribution. Article 14D provides guidelines for calculating the amount of a subsidy when a government provides goods or services or purchases goods. It says that a government provision of goods or services does not confer a benefit unless it is made for less than adequate remuneration, and that a government purchase of goods does not provide a benefit unless made for more than adequate remuneration. Article 14D then says that the adequacy of the remuneration is to be determined by reference to prevailing market conditions for the good or service in question in the country of provision or purchase. However, what if the prevailing market conditions for a good in the country of provision are themselves affected by the government's involvement in the market? For example, if an investigating authority is assessing whether a government provision of goods was made at less than the prevailing market price for those goods, what should it do when the government's involvement in that market has effectively lowered the market price for those goods? In this situation, a comparison with the prevailing market price will not really capture the full extent of the distortion arising out of the government financial contribution. It could even mean that the comparison is circular. So, are there any situations in which Article 14D permits investigating authorities to use a benchmark other than private market prices in the country of provision? Well, in a case called Softwood Lumber 4, the appellate body said that Article 14D does not require the use of private prices in the market of the country of provision in every situation. Rather, there are some very limited situations in which an investigating authority may use a benchmark other than the private market prices of the goods in the country of provision. What are these situations? The appellate body has said that they are the ones in which it is established that the private market prices are distorted because of the predominant role of the government in the market as a provider of the same or similar goods. This means that where an investigating authority establishes that private market prices in the country of provision are distorted due to the predominant participation of the government as a supplier in that market, it may reject the use of in-country prices when calculating the amount of the benefit. Now, a somewhat similar issue has arisen with respect to Article 14b of the SCM agreement, which concerns the calculation of benefit when the financial contribution is a loan. The appellate body has said that if loans in a given market and in a given currency are distorted by government intervention, an investigating authority should be permitted in certain circumstances to use a benchmark other than a comparable commercial loan which the recipient firm could actually obtain on the market. They did say that any such benchmark would, however, have to approximate a comparable commercial loan which the recipient firm could actually obtain on the market. So, in sum, Article 14 of the SCM agreement clearly envisages that the amount of the benefit conferred by a financial contribution should be calculated based on a comparison with the market. However, consistent with the purpose of Article 14, panels and the appellate body have interpreted Articles 14D and 14B as allowing for the use of a different benchmark when the market benchmark itself is distorted due to government intervention.